You see, each time I pause to examine the mindset shaping our African reality today, then I can almost understand why Eurocentric invaders, anthropologists, and ethnographers painted us as both irrational and emotional. For generations, they've looked at us through a distorted lens. They saw us as people guided by impulse, ruled by feelings rather than reasoning, and driven by survival rather than vision. They painted us as primitives, incapable of deep structured thoughts. And for far too long, we've allowed their narratives to echo in our hearts and shape our actions. For instance, they saw us live our lives glorifying finished products crafted from the raw materials we surrendered, while we remain contented, standing at the bottom of the value chain. They watched us celebrate outdated knowledge, theories and ideas they've long discarded, which we bought at a high price and held on to as if they were timeless treasures. You go visit our university today and you will see lesson notes photocopied year after year, wrote from textbooks that dated as far back as the early 20th century. Step into our laboratories and our libraries and you will find relics of obsolete experiments and invention of a world that has already moved on. Our classroom echoes with knowledge that have expired, while the world beyond our borders races forward with innovations and fearless reinvention. Then is it any wonder they saw us as stagnant? Is it any surprise then they called us irrational and emotional when they watched us cling to dead theories, while new discoveries knocked on our door unanswered? Even more painful, statistics show that nearly 75% of the African university graduates struggle to apply what they spent 4 years or more learning in the university. A glaring sign that we are churning out certificates and not solutions. We are only reproducing graduates and not innovators. We've been trapped in a circle of memorization instead of imagination. Funny how they watched us tear each other down instead of lifting each other up. They saw us celebrating short-term victories while neglecting long-term progress. And we almost confirmed the stories they wrote about us. Now, if this is how they have chosen to perceive and define us, it therefore reveals a deep, dangerous flaw in our collective mindset. It means we've allowed an invincible chain to wrap around our mind, shaping how we see ourselves and how we perceive the world sees us. Because scripture says, we were like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and so were we in theirs. So it was never truly about how they saw us first, it was more about how we saw ourselves. They sold us the idea that Africans are naturally irrational. But here's the truth, and let it echo in your spirit. Rationality is universal. The ability to think deeply, to analyze and innovate. They are not just European privileges, they are human endowments woven into the very fabric of our beings as Africans. It therefore means we possess the same spark of reason, the same creative force and potentials that shape ideas to move the world forward. The tragedy, however, is not that they called us irrational. It is that we believe it and began to live it out. We must understand that a new African is possible not from the outside in, but from the inside out. It starts with one African choosing to think differently, to believe that intelligence is not an European export, but a human gift. To believe that our emotions are not weakness, but a powerful tool to build connection, compassion, and change. To believe that we are not merely survivors of history, but authors of a new future. Look, if we rise above blame and take responsibility for our growth, we can silence every voice that ever called us incapable. Let us dare to imagine an Africa that is not defined by its scars but by its strength.